Hi there, folks. Welcome to another edition of A Drink with Charith, and that's my weekly show. I'm always excited to have these wonderful guests. As always, um, I'm sure that you people can see this handsome young man sitting next to me. It is always a great pleasure to have him. He's been a good friend and the former teammate in a different field of sports, but one whom I admired very much and have played a bit of cricket. During my time, he and his brother Elvi, a great character, and he played for St. Anthony's the time I was playing for Ananda, and basically we go back a long way. And the reason why I decided to have this man on my show, besides his rugby fame and being a great servant for rugby in Sri Lanka, having captained and done many things and achieved so many things for rugby in Sri Lanka. The thing that amazed me most, his versatility as a sportsman, and there are lots of things people don't know about this guy. And before he played rugby, I think he was a cricketer. And Priyantha, if I'm not mistaken, I think you played basketball for Sri Lanka as well. So you are a double international, right? You are a double international. And the other thing the people don't know, some people wrote to me last evening and said this guy was a brilliant athlete. And basically there's nothing this man has not done. And now from rugby, he has moved on to baseball, which is a novelty in this country. And not many people have embarked on that journey. And it's a sport that someday I want to play with. Probably Priyantha can give me some tips later on. Ladies and gentlemen, it's wonderful to have this man, and he has been an inspiration for me and always my hero the time he played for CH. And then I hated him when he started playing for Kandy, but it's always just the admiration that I had for this man. And as an individual, he has gained so much. He has grown as a person, and he has a lot to offer. So basically, Priyantha is here this afternoon to tell you all and his life story. And I hope you will listen to him and be inspired as much as I am having this guy. So Priyantha, great to have you on my show, mate. And I'm so grateful that you, without any hesitation, that you accepted my invitation. And we are 10 minutes early. We were supposed to go on air at 3 o'clock, but Pri got here by 2 o'clock, and I was still having a shower. And it was I had a great chat off the air, and so we decided, no, why waste time? Let's get on with it. So, ladies and gentlemen, you've got to tell me, that where it all started. I know you from Kandy St. Anthony's, and what's your background as a junior, where it all started. Over to you, mate.
Thank you, Charith. Thank you for having me on the show. Where it all started was at St. Anthony's College. I was a hosteler. During that time we had a socialist government, and we had to give our ration books to the hostel, and we had only rice, I believe, twice a week. So we grew up in an era where there was so much, I wouldn't call it suffering. There was so many rules and regulations, and being in the hostel was even more difficult. Having said that, the only good thing that happened being in the hostel was we were forced to do sports. That was the only way out for us. So that's one of the reasons I got into sports. But I must also be thankful to my brother. Actually, he did all the sports. He was a better sportsman than me, probably, except for rugby. I think he achieved greater heights in athletics and cricket, probably. Then I just followed suit. I mean, I just followed his footsteps, and I was very fortunate to captain the junior teams in rugby, cricket, and athletics and basketball also. And my number one sport was basketball at that time. And then I switched on to rugby, and then I'm today now.
Yeah, exactly. How's LV doing? I haven't seen LV. I've not spoken to him for a long time. Is he all right?
He's good. He's good. He's now involved with the rugby union. He's a rugby selector, but
right.
As a profession, he's a farmer full time. He's into agriculture. Yeah, he's good. Yeah, he's doing.
Wow, that's great to hear. Not many people. The other day, whilst I was, I was talking to Adam Holyoke, and one thing we discussed as sportsmen, and once we give up playing active sports, most people don't know what to do with themselves post life. and you get lost. I think I mean, I'm sure Pri, that you know that lots of rugby players who lost focus and probably lost their lives, and the post the rugby days, and that same thing in cricket. Unfortunately, in this country, we don't have proper systems that that national players are looked after, unlike in other countries that always so once you represent the country, that the system itself takes care of these people, and so they are ensured that they have good lives. And but to hear that LV has gone into farming, is doing something which he likes doing, like it's brilliant to hear that people there you go. It's it's amazing. Someday it's one of my dreams, one day to go to livestock and go to and I own a small farm and do a bit of agriculture, that kind of thing. It's a great story. So anyway, LV, if you're watching, mate, thanks to bringing up such a wonderful young brother, and it's he says your influence, and that's great. And did you just to when you were at St. Anthony's, did you represent schools in rugby?
Yes, I did. I think the closest that I came was playing for outstation schools. I think I played with your good friend Asanga,
right.
And that was in 1984. Asanga captain actually, and if my memory serves me right, I think Isipatana and Royal both were unbeaten that year.
Right.
And we outstation schools managed to beat the Columbus schools, and I believe since then I didn't know outstation school has beaten the Columbus schools. So that was my first experience. Then when I was in school, I was again fortunate enough to go with the youth team to Korea, where I played, and then I also did a diploma in coaching and playing basketball. So I came back and I was coaching some of the girls' schools in Kandy, basketball, and then of course I was like doing reasonably well in rugby, so I couldn't do both. So I switched on to rugby.
Great stuff. If I go back in time, I think that you joined CHNFC mid 80s, I believe.
Yeah, 85.
Probably 85, and that's the time that we had guys like Apsi Nagata, Chandashan Pereira, and Simon Hunter, and all those blokes were playing, and that's the fantastic team we had.
Absolutely.
And you coming into the side as a schoolboy, that that everybody was excited to have you. And I still remember that I was half my size. I think when I played for Sri Lanka, I was 69 kgs or barely 70 kgs, and I remember you were tall and lanky, but you did not have big muscles for a rugby player, and just you were more like a basketball player.
Absolutely.
Than a rugby player, and then you realize, hey, we need some muscle. And do you recall that that how in that little dressing room we were all cramped up and trying to do weights, looking up to Sean and
Maybe Ricky and Simon Hunter.
Simon Hunter, yeah. And I remember you were with good old Joe, our dressing room attendant.
Yes.
Remember those days?
Yes, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I must be grateful to CHNFC for giving me an opportunity. I just started playing rugby in Kandy because I had no choice. I had to play for Kandy because my brother was captaining. So halfway through the season, I was injured as well. And then for the knockout, CHNFC offered me a job, and they wanted me to play for CH. I was a bit fortunate because they had probably the best two line-out jumpers, I think, in Sridharan and Junaidi.
Yeah.
And both of them retired. And so there was an opening for me. I was very lucky. Then I came there. I played with some great players. And playing with Nagata, I think not the very first year. Nagata came into the scene the following year.
Yeah.
But then having all these guys, and I think if I look back, the days that I enjoyed the most was with CH. I had a short stint, but it was all fun. I mean, when you look back, a lot of players make that mistake, Charith. I think what happens is people leave the school and they look for a job, and then they go and play for a club because they are being given a job.
Yeah.
I think if you go the other way around, if you live your dream and passion, and if you are happy with what you are doing, with the club or school or whatever association, then you in the long term, you become happier because you are doing what you like.
Excellent.
And then your job will come your way anyway because if you are good at it, isn't it?
That's absolutely true. But I didn't realize that you first started playing rugby for Kandy and then came to CH.
Yes, because I didn't play the whole year.
Right.
I played the league. and then came and played the knockout in Colombo and Premadasa Trophy.
Was that allowed? That
Yeah, it was allowed. That if you change provinces, you're allowed.
Okay,
and you get a letter from the club, a release letter, and mine was a genuine case because I was going to get employed.
All right.
So we won the Premadasa Trophy that year. We had all these guys, Suku and all. And I must also say that when I came here, I had no place to stay, and first year was really difficult. Because the salaries were next to nothing.
I remember. Yes.
And then Ranjan Kanagasabe was kind enough to look after me, and that was the beginning of my rugby career.
Great story, mate. It's absolutely one of the reason, why I decided to get Priyantha on the show. Although he's now doing okay and he's established, it's always a rags to riches story. Where you came from, and most of the guys I'm fortunate enough to most of the guys who have come on my show so far, they have all come from humble beginnings, and they always it was always a struggle, and the journey that they have made to get to the top, that's what that inspires people. Basically, why I said how I met Priyantha was such a humble guy and unassuming, and I never ever thought that Priyantha will reach such heights in rugby. Because I thought, hey, just another guy from Kandy and just another ordinary sportsman, and then he surprised all of us, and he just went beyond all our expectations, and went on to lead Sri Lanka. Was it under who captain when we won the Bowl Hong Kong?
That was Hisham Martin. That was before me, 84. I think 87 we came to the Bowl finals, and then we lost in the extra time. Asanga was in that team.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And I mean, it's it's talking about rugby, and those were the high standards that we had played.
Yeah.
And so, where do you see our rugby's at the moment? The rugby season had just started. I saw a couple of games on TV. Hardly any spectators, and is there still enough spectator interest to justify that? I believe that the time you guys played, you guys were not professionals, right?
No.
You never got paid, other than what Mr. Kishin Bhutani and Ranjan Kanagasabe and all those guys who, whatever they did, and you were more like a semi-professional. You worked most of the time and you played rugby leisurely. But whereas in today's context, that the game has changed so much, and everybody's getting paid, massive budgets, unthinkable. Forget about the club rugby, even school rugby, and I think school rugby there's still that massive following.
Yeah.
But how do you see that? Does Kandy still have a following? I think the
Kandy, I don't live in Kandy anymore. I mean, except for the short stint that I had with the rugby union. To be honest, I have not watched that many club games.
Right.
But I'm certainly disappointed with the crowds.
Yeah.
Kandy still has a bit of a following. I think that's where the crowd is actually. Okay. But at that time, the time that we played, I think when I got into rugby, and the rugby was like the most popular sport. I mean, it was before the '96 World Cup, right? Yeah. So there were a lot of people, watching rugby, and rugby was the most popular sport. And then the foreigners came in, and that gave a big boost to the game, right? And that's where the crowd started coming. I think the rugby union didn't address these issues. They didn't see it coming. Suddenly, everything fell apart. Mm-hmm. I think Asanga, during his tenure, he tried to revive it. He brought people to, uplift the development. Then also the high performance. So we had a team, looking after the national teams. So there were a lot of bits and pieces, but the club rugby situation was not addressed properly. I think that's where the problem is. The other issue is, of course, there are two ways of looking at it. It's like the England old style, where the clubs control the players, where the union doesn't pay the players much. Yeah. The rugby union, of course, during the tours, they give them an allowance or something like that, yeah, or they pay a small amount. But apart from that, the clubs look after the players, so they own the players. Okay. So national rugby has very little, access to the players. So that's been one of the issues that we have. And the other thing is, of course, I believe that we have to open out and let the foreigners play. I think that's 100%.
That's that I was I mean, always although I played cricket, that I think always my passion and number one interest in life, I've always wanted to play rugby. But as I said, that I wasn't built to play the contact sport as such, although I understand that it always remains a passion that rugby, it's such a wonderful sport. And I was talking to Goa, like we spoke about, and Goa does a program. I think he yeah, he talks about rugby, and so he shared the same sentiment that if the clubs are not willing to have foreigners playing, why don't we have a club, where all foreigners play and let them come and live in this country. Look at Japan, what they have done. They have allowed many foreigners to come and settle in the country, and they have gelled in with their culture, and they speak Japanese and they represent Japan, and they have made such a huge impact during the World Cup. Again, going back to where you guys were back in the 80s. I mean, you were in the world stage and you're good enough to go and express yourself. Yeah. Where have we come right now? I mean, I think we are struggling just to make an impression, even from Asian standards. With all that massive budgets and all that. It's a good point that you said that the players don't want to play for the country, but rather they are happy to play for the clubs, and because of the money issue. But will rugby, with this context, will it survive?
Difficult to say. It will survive because luckily only we have 4 clubs, and the rest are forces, and because the forces fund on their own, right? Then they have a club and they allow players to come and work there temporarily and play for their rugby team.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest issue is what we have not addressed is we have not seen it coming because we have to go with the rest of the world, right? When the sport became professional, I think we got it wrong. I think our players. I'm not trying to blame everybody, but our system was such. Players started playing for money, and then they lost everything. They started playing. So, like if you take New Zealand, they play with passion and they play and they do everything, and as a result, they get the money. So when you start playing for money, then one club might have 3 scrum offs, or the talent is not equally distributed. So you have problems like that. I think the rugby union has addressed these issues. I mean, we are not seeing how the future is going to look like. Because I think we still have a chance, Charith, in sevens. I think we have not got to that stage where stage where you cannot compete. Now 15s, I think we will always struggle to compete at the international. Yeah. We got to that point where no return point.
Yeah.
So, but in the sevens, I think we still have a chance. I think lots of countries who used to compete with like Kenya, we are beating USA. Yeah. Now they are like superpowers. They are beating New Zealand regularly, and so we still have a chance. But I think if as a game rugby has to get popular, then we have to bring in the foreigners.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the reasons, that I will get there, and eventually that perhaps the game will survive because the game is played very competitively at school level.
Yeah,
so as long as the game exists in a grassroots levels, there is progress. But unfortunately, as you rightly said, we will the international level probably sevens and 15s, just like mere participation. Even that we may struggle in time to come. I was talking to a guy from Singapore last night, and they say the most popular sport it's growing, that it's spreading fast is rugby. Sure. And even the Chinese, started playing rugby, and it's becoming very popular. So I think the same story with Malaysia, and so I suppose those guys will progress, with expats coming and playing, and so there you go, people, that if all those rugby stalwarts and people who are involved in rugby. And you were CEO of for a short time. It's coming from the former CEO of SLRFU. I don't know what politics involved, but that we would like to see some foreigners playing in our country. I think, as you always said, that it adds value, it adds color. And
I think this suggestion was brought in by the former president, who at the time that I was working as the CEO, by Asanga,
right?
And he also believed that we need to bring in foreigners.
Yeah.
But the club refused it. But I think like if I go to New Zealand, I have the opportunity to play for a club, whatever the club. It doesn't matter whether I'm from Sri Lanka or what race or what color I am. Sure. I can play if I'm good enough.
Yeah.
I think we need to open out, and people, at least for the people who live in this country, should be able to play in that. Yeah. And if somebody wants to pay and get a player down, well, good enough. I mean,
is there any particular reason why the clubs are resisting?
I think they are saying that they are already struggling with the finances. They are finding it difficult to fund the players because I think one reason is the crowds. I think that's the area that we need to address. So when you don't have crowds, when you don't have a following, then it's difficult to get sponsors. Then you have a
Yeah, I know
situation
what you
where
mean, but
yeah,
it's like chicken and egg, exactly, mate. That having two players in your side, and okay, probably it'll add a bit more, to your expenses, but I think it's going to add value.
Yeah, sure, because they are paying the local players anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the Fijians, I mean, if you really market it properly, if the union have a strategy, which we had at that time, to allow the clubs to play at least 3 under-23 players.
Yeah.
So that way they can qualify to play for Sri Lanka in 3 years.
That's
so
right.
If we have 1 or 2 foreigners, then we can raise the standard. And when we raise the standard, we will start getting more funding, more tours, all that, and then it's good for the system. And also
the spectator interest as well.
Absolutely. Just before that, you were talking about schools rugby. I think schools rugby is, doing exceptionally well. That also we are very lucky because the old boys have taken the onus, and they are funding not the schools. Actually, the sponsors are coming in the form of old boys and all that. So which is a good thing. And also we have about, I would say 200, 300 school players leaving their schools, right? But if you get 100 good players or 50, and if you can start an academy, that's our suggestion was, and to bring them through the system, and for the union to own the players and they give them to the club, so that you have a even distribution of players to the club, so you have a better competition.
Right.
So more people will start watching the games, because now it's probably, Candida has dominated rugby over the years, and credit to Candy because they have a good system there and they have been looked after, all that. But if other clubs also can raise, and then if union can help them with, having the balance of players, you say 10 national players to each club, or school leavers, you have a draft system or something like that. If you don't own the players and if you don't pay the players, union cannot do that. That is what happened in England, so many years ago. Because RFU was depending on the clubs to pay the players. The moment the RFU, the England Rugby Football Union, became the controlling body, then they started paying the clubs, and they own the players. So as a result, now we see where England is. If they're in the World Cup final.
That's the structure that unfortunately in cricket, that everybody is the clubs are funded by Sri Lanka SLC, and always the SLC have the ownership of the players. And before you go there, talking about professionalism, you said something very, very important, like your passion to play the game, and then there was no money. And you mentioned that without any passion, there is no money. You play for the passion for the sport, then the money will start coming in.
Absolutely.
And I think what has happened right now, the players have no passion. You see one guy playing for CH one season, then the next club offers him 500 rupees more. You go and play for another club the next season. And it happens in cricket as well. I don't know. We always, to me, probably are more passion. I played cricket during school days. I played a couple of seasons, like in and out for Bloomfield. Was never a regular player. Then I joined CH and played for 13 consecutive seasons. And you become part and parcel of the whole system.
Sure. Because speaking of myself, I have played for 3 clubs, so I can't say much about that. But having said that, the club loyalty also comes with passion, absolutely. So they need to create a culture in the club as well. But during our time, all we wanted was a good job, right? And that's all we wanted, because there was no money involved anyway. So it was easy, because it's an even distribution of talent. You had NCC, you had CCC, we played cricket. Then CH, CRNFC, and Havelock, they could beat each other on any given day.
That's right.
So because there was no money. So the money is a good thing, but if it's not used properly, and one person can control, and the rugby, there was a time Navy dominated for a short period because they were getting enough money. And same story, Candy is a bit dominant because they look after the players, and there is more money involved. So you need to look at the whole picture in a holistic way, and then see how we can change it. I think this is a problem that we have at every stage. Now, for me, I'm involved in baseball. I think I picked baseball because I thought I can do more with baseball, because there is no bureaucracy, and then the rugby is like the clubs. You have the club reps, you have the council members. It's like most of them, like they have played rugby, some have not, but they don't see the big picture, right? Where do you want to be? Right? How can you be a world power? And people don't see it that way. They think, why do you want to do development? Because you have only 8 clubs. Then how can you, if you don't develop and get the best body specimens to play the sport, then how can you compete at the international level? So it's again like a chicken and egg situation. So if you don't have the proper thinkers and proper vision, we don't have. I'm involved in the sports ministry to a certain extent. right? I mean, sports ministry doesn't have a database. So that is the governing body of sports in this country. So how can you not have a database, and how can you develop sport? Right? For me, I can, if you have time, I can tell you a bit about what we have done on the development.
Yes,
front.
go ahead, mate. Yeah.
Now, baseball, what we did was we have you have the 9 provinces, you have the 25 districts, and that's broken into 98 educational zones. So what we have done is we go to an educational zone, we do an awareness program. We get about 20 schools. Each educational zone has about 200-300 schools.
Right.
So you pick about maybe 8 or maybe 10, or you can go up to about 16.
Yeah.
Right. And then what you can do is, then you have an awareness program. Then you pick, say, 5 schools.
Yeah.
Right from that, and then you see where there is a sporting culture. There is sports officers. Maybe there is a old boys or old girls culture. You go to a school like that.
Yeah.
And then you go and do a training program. You tell them to give 3 to 4 coaches, or at least 5 coaches from their people. I'm not saying coaches. It can be sports officers, PTIs, old boys, old girls, and then you do a training program, and then you give them the equipment. Right. So then they go and start doing it because they have given a basic training, so they have fun. And so in 3 months' time, you go and do another development program. Give the coach, the coaches, right? Yeah. Then give them a bit of an advanced program. Then in another 3 months, you go again, do the same thing, and then you organize a tournament among themselves.
Right.
Now, if you take baseball, now we are very fortunate. We are getting some of the equipment free of charge.
Right.
Otherwise,
where does it come from?
It comes from Japan.
Okay.
And the States also. Right. So if we don't give the equipment, it's a problem. The package is about 600,000, right? So each school. So they start playing. Now, if you take any other sport, football, you are only looking at a ball, right? So if you then you look at the other problem you're going to have is coaches. But if you tie up with the forces as a sports ministry, because we had a 33-year-old war, and that was probably the worst thing that happened to this country. But the only good thing that came out of it is every major city has Army, Navy, Air Force base. Sure. So if you can tie up with them and see how we can develop the sport, I mean, you can do amazing things. I think we certainly have the talent. I mean, I've been to Japan many times with rugby and baseball. Rugby, baseball, we started in 8 schools. Right. But you see the talent, you get tears to your eyes, because we have the talent to compete at the highest level, just that we don't have a system in place.
You've been involved, at the highest level, Pri, you said that, that you were in touch with, some of these, the people at, sports ministry level. Have you tried to speak to them at any given point?
I have, just that they don't have a system in place. Like, they are, I mean, if everything is for survival, they have a grading system. I don't think that works really. So they grade the school. But I believe you need to have, you need to break it into high performance, competition, and development. Right. Development with what I told you, like then you have a situation, if you can have, let's say, hypothetically 5 teams in each educational zone, then you can say 98 educational zones. Handy Kalam will have it more. So you are looking straight away at 500 new schools playing a sport. Right. So if you have a system structure in place, you can do that. But only thing is, you need to work on the coaches. Right. This is something that you don't need to spend money. So the development, it can take care of itself. And then you have a intra-zonal, then you have an interzonal, then you have a district, and then you have provincial tournament. Provincial tournament can be the selection criteria for any international tournament, or for the national players. Then your competition also, your competition is automatically happening, isn't it? Apart from your club system, you have the zonal system, you have the district system, you have the provincial system. So all these players are getting matches. Then the high performance, I believe, even with baseball we are doing that. I believe that we need to have teams at every level, national teams, under 12, under 14, under 16, under 18, under 20, and then you can have under 23, and that is not on the schools but outside. And then what you can do is, even if you don't have a tour, you bring them together. You have a coaching camp. You teach them life skills, social skills. Baseball, if it's baseball skills, and injury management, and the value of the sport, where you can go, what you can do. You make them sports personalities. That's a stepping stone. So at under 12, then after you do all those courses, then you give them a certificate, right? Colors or whatever, you can call it anything you want. And then that will help them to get a job, get into the university. Then you do a bit advanced at under 14. So you just come there. Then come under 18, you have a sports personality, So then you have a lot of people. If you look at the sport, they are self-made sports person, yourself, or but there are. I don't think there are any sports personalities that has come through a system.
Yeah.
So that's where the problem is. So it's easy. I mean, it's not rocket science or it's not difficult.
Yeah.
Somebody has to just take the initiative and just do it.
That's the thing. Someone has to take the baton and run. The other day again was talking to Adam. One thing he said that in the world that he said he was not brilliant academically, but he has no regrets because he said he was more athletic.
Like all of us.
Exactly. I mean, you look at that we don't have degrees behind our names, but looking back, that all what we have is what the sports taught us. That whatever we are today, people may have reservations and I think you will never win. And people may call us names or whatever. People who like us will like us, but whatever we are today is because of like the upbringing we had on the field and perhaps off the field as well. And I think the culture needs to change. I think at the moment what is happening, all parents want their children to do their A levels and get to university. That that's the mindset is like you don't have a degree behind your name, you're nobody.
Absolutely. The education system sucks. I mean, you have the scholarship system, which is also again wrong because at age 12 years or 11 years, you are just focusing on studies, you're giving up everything.
Yes.
Because you have to select the best body specimens when they are about 4 years.
Yeah.
Right. And then segregate that. Schools, education ministry was going to have a good system where they were going to train 53,000 students every year.
Yeah.
That was all spoken about. We were involved in the whole process. Suddenly nothing took off. Right. If they did that, and we have sports schools, we have about 15 sports schools. I think about 4 or 5 are functioning now.
Yeah. So
if you build a system, right, then it can happen now. Because what really happens is we are now during our time there was no money involved.
Sure.
So we can look back and say if we played now we would have made some money. But having said that, most of the skills, most of the passion, most of the life skills we got because of we didn't have money. Because all we wanted was a good bottle of beer, a good laugh after the matches, have socialize with your friends, have a good time because your social was more important than your match sometimes. So that kind of a culture we grew up.
Exactly.
I'm not saying that's the right way to go, but we were happy, whether it's on the field or off the field. Now off the field players are being restricted, they're being told what to do and all that. So most of them are not enjoying themselves, right? And of course, having said that, our players don't know that, not like the professionals in England. If they are being told to drink one beer, they'll drink one beer.
Yeah.
Our guys will drink more because they are all different. So education-wise, yes, the biggest challenge is of course the tuition culture that we have. The parents are not releasing the players. And the other thing, of course, if we have a structured way of doing that. Now I'm happy that we have a minister who's in charge of school education and sports.
Yeah.
So I think our development is at the school level. Now I think about 4 years back when Imti Marika was involved, our Sri Lankan national team became under 18 champions, Asian champions.
Yes.
Under 18.
Yes.
And then we also became under 20 champions.
Yeah.
So you have the potential at that level. It's a matter of bringing them through the systems and enhancing their talent and then giving them the exposure. I mean, I'm sure we can do that. I mean, not just rugby. I think there's an opportunity with baseball. There are a couple of other sports that has the opportunity. Now, look at volleyball. 7,000 schools are playing volleyball.
Really?
Absolutely. Netball is played by 5,000 schools. So all you have to do is you have to develop the coaches and then also the talent scouts to pick the talent at the early stage. So talking about sports, it's a sad story, but if somebody comes and wants to fix it, I think matter of 2 years you can fix it.
Yeah, I mean, it needs to start somewhere. And exactly, I hope, as I said earlier, that, the people concerned, people who are in, big places and who have the authority to make a difference, listen to this man. He has wealth of knowledge to offer, to make things better. And where do you see baseball going? Do you think it's a growing sport in the country?
Yeah,
where do you guys play? I haven't seen.
No, we have an international baseball stadium.
Where is
Diagama.
Okay. All right.
To be honest, before I got involved with baseball, I also didn't know much about baseball.
Right.
But when they invited me to their committee meeting and then they gave me a briefing about the sport, where it was, I mean, I was amazed. And then we had our first international tournament this year in Sri Lanka. We raised about 36 million. And sports ministry also helped us, but otherwise we had to go, with a begging bowl.
Right.
We had a wonderful tournament, and Sri Lanka beat Pakistan in the finals, and it was a closely contested final. And then our guys, now become, household names in their own villages and all that. So which is good. I mean, we have about 31 clubs out of the 14 universities, 12 universities play baseball. So that's where the growth is. So some of the people have got into the university through baseball, so which is also positive. We have some schools, we have about 35 schools playing competitive baseball. We are hoping that we can take it up to about 60 to 70 within the next 2 years. So we want to give it a try, because the one thing that amazes me is the skills they have. Now, if you are playing cricket,
I was about to ask you,
Yeah.
having got a cricketing culture, does
Absolutely.
that help baseball?
Yeah, for sure, 100% sure. I mean, I must be honest, when I joined the Baseball Association, there were 3 ladies from Japan who came here to develop the sport.
Okay.
And between those 3 girls, they had won like 14 world championships. They were that good. And when they went to Kandy and they wanted some girls, so I was able to get some girls who played cricket, especially from Anthony's Convent and all.
Right.
Some of the girls hit the ball further than the boys. And they looked at them and said, if they're first timers, you can be world champions. I said, no, they have played cricket.
Really?
So that kind of the hand-eye coordination, you have the, ball comes at 80 to 90 miles, 100 miles an hour.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's like more like cricket.
Yeah.
And then you're playing against a curve ball, slow ball, or whatever, So it is a sport that we can go to, but I'm saying it is the second, richest sport in the world.
Oh, sure, it
right?
is, yeah.
And some of the top clubs are spending like $3 billion. So before I took over this position, I went to the States, I met some of the clubs, they were willing to give the money. But I said, no, don't want any money until we put the systems in place. But I believe if you put the systems in place,
Yeah.
going to the States and getting money and getting them to build a stadium or something,
Okay.
won't be an issue, yeah. So
Great
it's-
stuff. I mean, it's great. It's a positive story that I didn't know that I knew that your involvement with the baseball, and I knew okay, they have got the right man and for the right job, and it'll grow up as a sport. But we don't see or hear much in media that about I hope the media will give a bit more support and give a bit more exposure. Just the way that the exposure was given to cricket and rugby some time back, and awareness. Not many people know about baseball. As you said, that it's such a great sport. If you look back in America, it's probably, as you said,
and it's an uncontact sport. It's ideal for our ground conditions and things like that. Because we on the development front, there is a school in near Dambulla, Vavellavara.
Okay.
We started baseball some time back, right? And so when they have a tournament, whole village makes kaum, cookies, rice. They all come. These grounds are like there's hardly any grass.
Yeah.
But these guys play with so much passion. They dive on those hard grounds and all that. And then 4 players from Vavellavara went on the under-12 to Japan, and 4 players went with the under-18 to Japan. And 2 guys played in the national team in the Asian Games, where we went and played in the Asian Championship. So there's a lot of things happening, but as a sport, we are getting a little bit of coverage now,
Right. Okay.
and mostly in the inside pages, not in the last page.
Okay.
But during the tournament, we had that, and we also did a program with Sirasa. Sirasa went around all 25 districts, and they have that program. So they took baseball as one of the sports. So we were able to go to all 25 districts and do awareness programs to most of the schools. So they understand the sport now.
It's one thing that you said yesterday. We were at Havelocks, let's having a beer, a couple of my mates, and I think CR playing police, and after the game they switched on to Sakanta and some of the district games that they were playing, and the ball retention skills, that how like you slide and dive, we were just discussing. Imagine doing that in one of our fields, and you will come all that. So what my question to you, that the time I played, I didn't know how to slide. We never, that skill wasn't there. I think in cricket, as you said, that now we use so many skills from that come from baseball, which we have adopted into cricket. That sliding is one of them.
Yeah, sure. Because
but how do you slide on a
we had a Japanese coach,
Yeah.
right? We had a Japanese coach, and then actually Ashley spoke to me, and Guru also spoke to me, and then they wanted this guy to come and teach them the batting skills. These for the A team,
Right.
And then that evening, most of the players were watching. I think that was one of the World Cup matches. Bangladesh play another team, and they saw Mustika Brahim used to hit the ball with the same technique. That's why he generates so much of power.
Yeah, for a small guy.
And she was talking to me, and he wanted the coach to come down and teach the national players.
Yeah.
So there's so many things that you can we can share, and because baseball is similar to cricket and cricket is similar to baseball, so you can make use of this.
Though you said that it's not a non-contact sport, but I think it's still very physical, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, bat and the ball. I mean, the ball can hit you and things like that. It's like cricket.
What I'm saying is like you need brutal power to clear, get a home run or something.
Yeah, absolutely. And technique also. Now Japan, when they started baseball in Japan, they never thought that Japan will become a superpower.
Yeah.
Now Japan is the #1 team in the world. Because when they take the rankings, they take from under 12 to under 19. Okay. So under 18, Japan has won more tournaments than women's. They are the champions. So what they did was they did a very clever thing. They got one good player and got him to play and go and play in the MLB. So if you play in the MLB, your average salary is 1.5 million upwards. So now there are over 100 Japanese players playing in the MLB. So that's why the game became popular. #1 sport in Japan is baseball. Yeah. After sumo is wrestling. Is just a cultural thing, but baseball is the #1 sport.
Brilliant, great stuff. Were you in Japan? You were in Japan during the World Cup?
No, I didn't go. I was in New Zealand actually. I went to New Zealand for some reason, but that's nothing. But I wasn't.
But did you follow the Rugby World Cup?
Yes, I did. I watched most of the matches on TV. Yeah, they're amazing. I mean, the standards keep going up and up and up. The rules keep changing.
Yeah.
It's a professional sport. Like now, it's a 5 to we do a job from 8 to 5.
Yeah.
It's a 8 to 5 job for most of them, right? And they have been looked after. That's the biggest challenge, Charith. Now, when we play rugby, I was very fortunate to play, A Division rugby in New Zealand. Right? I got into the Otago B team. Otago A beat the British man. So, but that time we were competing skill against skill,
right?
Or strength against strength.
Yeah.
Right? Now you have high performance. You have your nutrition, your recovery plans, all these things. You have millions of things. Even they check your eyesight.
Yeah.
So we are way behind when it comes to those things.
Right.
So that's why during our time, right, if you take cricket,
Yeah.
I mean, our fielding was bad. Yeah. But we were able to compete in other areas.
Yes.
So rugby also, we competed with with the All Blacks. Even we never lost a line out, never lost a scrum in the sevens. I'm talking. So we were able to compete.
Yeah.
Now the game has changed.
Yeah.
Because there are so many aspects that they have the video footage, they study you, they do everything, but we are way behind in those areas.
Yeah.
So that's why high performance is very important if you want to get to the next stage.
I understand. Having said that, I must say that in cricketing terms, we are up there because that we spend so much money and we got databases and coaches and the high performance centers and all that, and it's going. I hope as you rightly said, that other sports also will come up to that level.
Yeah.
And with the blessings of with the new government in place, hopefully that the new minister who has come, you rightly said, not doing things haphazardly and doing things for all the wrong reasons. Absolutely. Do one thing for the right reason and then make it happen. Right? It's not rocket science.
Absolutely. My theory is just because you are poor, you don't have to wait without bathing, right?
Exactly.
Now some of the things that has happened in the recent past with the president and all that, those are little things that matters a lot, right? So likewise, if you can change the culture in the sports ministry, because what happens is if you take the sportsman, right? Now I work for the Baseball Association, say.
Yeah.
So my responsibility.
Do you come under the Ministry of Sports?
Yes, we do. Right. So I don't, because I'm not a appointed member, I'm like an employee. Employee. So I don't have to report to the ministry as such. But what I'm trying to say is, now if you take the sport on the whole, right? So if you I think if you look at baseball, right, now you have or any sport for that matter, you have the sportsman, then you have this association, right? So associations, fundamental responsibility is to look after the sportsman, right? Yeah. Then the sports ministry's responsibility is to look after the sports association. Then you have the secretary and the minister who looks after the interests of the sports ministry. Yeah. Then they report to the cabinet and then to the prime minister, right? So what happens is, now there are certain cases, now there are certain sportsmen who had to, walk around and beg and, do all that 2 days before the event, right? In the sports ministry. Yeah. So what they don't understand is, now sports associations, now there are 10 associations who are having interim committees, because they believe that they are more powerful than the players, and they leave the players and they go on tours. So things like that. So what the fundamentals are not there. So I believe now what army did something extraordinary, right? To win the war.
Yes.
They made somebody who was looked down, a
Yeah.
soldier, as a war hero, Ranavirua, right? So I think if we are to improve sports,
Yes.
we need to make these people the Ranavirua. They have to be on top of the pyramid, and the prime minister at the bottom of the pyramid. And this is the other way around. They are just being trampled and not given an opportunity. So come the Asian Games, they will say only the people who can win medals can go on Asian Games.
Yeah.
How can they win medals if they are not being given the proper exposure, proper diets? You're competing against not just talent against talent or strength against strength.
Yeah.
So I mean, you look at some of the sports like weightlifting, powerlifting, they have done reasonably well.
Yeah.
So if you can look at those sports, fund the sports that have the potential, look at, I don't know, maybe look at volleyball as well, because we have 7,000 schools playing, and you pick about 10 sports and focus on that. I'm sure we can, come out on top.
Courses for courses, mate. This is not what's happening. It's not like we are short of talent, as you rightly said. We got immense talent, but we also have structures in place, but the machinery, it doesn't work. For some,
Yeah, because we built now just a story. We built a stadium in Kilnochi. That was built about 4 years ago.
It was a baseball stadium.
No. This is an athletic stadium built by the ministry.
Right.
And the swimming pool was not being used at all. And then, then they tried to use it, but then they couldn't use it.
Right.
So then the former minister went and he redid the whole thing. They opened the stadium. No, it's not being used again. So what happens is, if we had a database, Charith, what I'm trying to say is, if we knew where are the grounds, what belongs to the municipality, what belongs to the UDA, what belongs to the associations, what belongs to the whatever private associations, all that, and you have a database, and then you can look at and say, then if you dig a little bit deeper, then you'll say, good sailors come from this province, good spikers come from this province, good whatever you just have you can make some decisions, and then you say, okay, for an example, I go to them and say I want to develop baseball. They'll say, okay, Batiklo, we have so many grounds, we have so little sportsmen.
Right.
Why don't you go to Batiklo? We'll support you.
Yeah.
So you start you're not only getting people out of obesity and drugs and all that, you're making them healthy, and as a result, the sports in the country also will grow.
Build a healthy nation.
Absolutely. But we are just saying those things, but we are not doing anything.
Yeah, that's true. Mate, just take a minute. So many messages coming. It's a big Shardol. Great stuff, Charith. Nice to see you, my teammate and captain. These people such as Hasan Priyantha. Yeah, you mate, good to have you on the show. Shah, there are so many others, just quickly. Godfrey Darbury, unbelievable. Pranal says, such a lovely guy you are, just say that, she's saying hi to you. My God, mate, I think we need to, I can't go through people. I just can't reply to all these people. There's so many comments coming in. Just say Kaushalya Viratna. Remember Kau?
Yeah.
All the way from Aussie, say hi to you, say hi to you. Rohan Vijay Singer, just always, remember, I think he's senior to you, Priyantha. Yeah. Great cricketer, open batting for St. Joseph's. What a star he was, Good to have you on the show, boss. Always. Russian Babu, yes, I'm seeing Priyantha after 20 years. Thanks, Charith, for having him. That's a Shardol, yes. Amit, Harshini, so many people watching, just Nishan Fernandopoulos, a big hello to you, Leslie. There's so many people. What I'll do is, after the show, I will respond to all those people who have took time to comment on, send your regards and love and whatever, just thank you very much for being there. I think, like we were talking about, having spectators, there's no sport, there's no spectators, and if nobody's watching your show, it's no point you and I just harping away, chatting away, and if nothing happens. But the beauty of it is, Priyantha, it was my regrets. I thought that afternoon would be a convenient time, and had I known that you were available in the evening, we could have had leisurely and we could have had a chat. We probably that we'll do it some other time, and these people still coming in and just saying hi to you. You're the star, mate. That's there's so many things going on. Priyantha, just now you are in a stage that you're no longer involved in sports. You're more like an administrator. And where do you see yourself? You're going to be CEO of baseball and going to dedicate your life to that, or do you see like like your brother suddenly like
Yeah.
you know
I mean, I really wanted to do something for sports. So when this came up, initially I thought I didn't have the passion. So, but then later on, I thought I'll give it a go. And then I was like 50 years. So I thought I'll give it a go and then probably retire, when I'm 55 or 56 or something like that. So, but I got into rugby and then I enjoyed this thing, to be honest, at the beginning. But then the management changed and then they were not interested in high performance and development. So me being there, it was not going to help for me.
Right.
So then baseball, I think I enjoy very much. I mean, there's so much passion, and I mean, everybody is doing everything on a voluntary basis.
Okay.
Right? Rugby, I think to a certain extent, like any sport, like in cricket, you have seen that more money you get, more problems you have, unless you have a proper structure in place.
Yeah.
So you have a system where you vote in people, and then people come into the system. Because though I have played rugby at a higher level, but I believe the administrators shouldn't be rugby players. You can have one or two, in the committees, but look at the people now. They don't have passion, right? The era that we played, people had passion. Now everybody who gets involved as a coach or administrator, they have a lot of passion. But now the people have played the game not for passion, for money.
Yeah.
So when they become an administrator, also they look at different indicators, right? So for them, it's what is there for me than what I can do for the country.
Yeah.
So, and if somebody wants to do for the country, there is no system that you can. When you come to cricket, you probably know the decisions are made by one person. Though you have a tag CEO or whoever it is, you hardly make any decisions. But in my case, I can make decisions. I'm very happy with baseball, and hopefully, I'll give it a go for a couple of years or something like that, and just see whether how much I can help them. Because once you put the system in place,
Yeah.
I think I'm sure the funding won't be an issue. We can get a lot of funding from US and Canada.
Yeah.
Because now we started in Jaffna, because I've already gone to Blue Jays in Toronto.
Right.
And met some people, so they are willing to help Jaffna to build a stadium and things like that. So I need to get the competitions going and things like that. So I think in 3 years' time, you'll see. I don't know whether I'll be involved or not, but I'm sure the baseball is going to be one of the top sports in the country. That's our target as well, to be one of the top 5 sports in the country.
Great to hear that, mate. I think that's what we need. Despite this progression, you need continuity as well.
Absolutely.
And as you rightly said that once you put the structures in place, it doesn't matter, isn't it? Then the things can progress. What is happening in this country, like if you take just talk outside sports, and in developed countries, that it doesn't matter who comes into power or whatever, because the structures remain.
Yeah, absolutely.
The systems run. But here, too many changes and so much uncertainty, and this is what is happening to sports or anything else. That part and parcel of your life. Like so much uncertainty, which is not good for anything, isn't it?
Yeah, sure. Because and also, like, I was talking to Murali many times, and he believes that I don't know how to talk in numbers, but
Yeah.
he believes, like, we are getting X amount of money on sponsorship, and we need only, like, less than less than 2/3 of that amount to run cricket.
Yes.
And do all the other things, and they should be able to help the other sport.
Yeah.
Right. The sport should be able to piggyback on the main sport.
Yeah.
And if they can help, but unfortunately, for whatever the reason, cricket board also is in debt. They have found a way to spend the money unnecessarily. So if you take cricket, I think all the other sports are depending on the courses. I mean, if you look at the contingent that went for the SARC games, 600 athletes went. Out of that, 485 are from
Army alone.
Army alone.
Yeah.
And Army spends about $180 million dollars on these guys. So if you put another maybe 200, 300 million, say altogether 500 million rupees, if they're spending with the infrastructure, and I'm just doubling the figure, but the sports ministry spends about 8 to 9 billion, right? So how much of that sport, how much of that money goes into the athletes directly, not even 10%.
Yeah.
That's where the problem is.
Yeah.
So if you attack the high performances, competition, if you look at the sports and see the areas where we can invest, and then how it can benefit, rather than just building a high altitude center or whatever.
Yeah.
Look at the requirement. First of all, have a database, right? Without a database, how can you make decisions?
Yeah.
Otherwise you're shooting in the dark, and then suddenly you realize we should have done this instead of this.
Absolutely.
So I think the key is to have a database.
Yeah, you got it. Are the forces playing baseball?
Yeah, they are really big. I mean, Army, Navy, Air Force, they are really big. I was at the Air Force inter-regimental tournament. They had 12 teams playing baseball. So it's becoming big. I mean, the end of the day, I mean, you have the development, and then you bring it up. Then you have the schools. Then the competition. Then you have the tip of the pyramid. That's a high performance. That's the area. So, but you need some kind of funding, right? So development area, I'm very fortunate. Horizon Campus has come forward, and they have helped us, and they are giving scholarships and things like that. So we are doing that. The competition we are managing. The provincial unions, we don't spend big money.
Right.
But the high performance bit, we had a foreign coach. If we can have a coach full time,
right?
Foreign coach, and I mean, we can.
I was going to ask you, where do you get coaches? I mean, you don't find many people who are.
You'll be amazed now. For an example, we had this guy. We had 4 Japanese coaches who came and helped us during the thing. So on and off, we have been getting 5 coaches, 6 coaches from Japan. We had something that you would know. We had 70 coaches. We had a program, and we had a coach from Italy. So through the Solidarity Fund, we got some support, and we had 74 baseball coaches who went through a residential camp for 4 days.
Like in cricket, do they have levels like level 1, level 2?
Because what happens is the international certificates, each country has its own accreditation.
Okay.
So our case, we have level 1, level 2. We have just done the level 1.
Right.
Some of the guys who have been in Japan have been coaching there for 6-7 months.
Okay.
So they have, these guys can get to about 2. That is level 2. And if you can have 1 or 2 level 3 coaches, that would be very useful.
So who pays for these coaches? Like like the your association?
No, not really. Sometimes we are subsidized in some cases, but a lot of people have paid on their own and gone, or we get sponsored from Japan.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have a guy in Japan. So he's based there. So he supports us a lot actually.
Okay.
A Sri Lankan living there.
But still it's like I mean, you need for the future in order for the game to develop. I think you need the support of all these big baseball playing nations. Their support and
sure. We have to. We had a presentation to the embassies, and then what I did a presentation to that we had about before the West Asia.
Yeah.
And then one thing I told them was, because we have this stadium, and like if you take Japan, China, Korea, and all that, they are big superpowers, including Taiwan. We told them we have this stadium. 4 months of the year, you can't play baseball in your countries because of winter.
Sure.
So if you can make use of the stadium and have an agreement for 25 years, if you can put up a big stadium with academy, all that, you can bring your teams within 4 months, during that 4 months, and you can have your coaching camps and all that. And then we can use it for the balance 8 months. So Chinese embassy and Japanese embassy said they'll have a.
Is there a world federation for baseball?
Yeah.
Like the IRB and.
Yeah, but not as powerful as IRB now. Rugby is very fortunate. Now, if you take the 3 sports that I'm, talking about, cricket, rugby, and football, they get funding from, international bodies.
Yeah.
But most of the other sports don't get.
Yeah.
Now, baseball we don't get, but we through the Solidarity Fund and NOC and all that, we have managed to write to them and get some kind of funding for development and coaches and things like that.
Right.
So we do some of the programs.
So just for the benefit of the guys who are listening out there. How many? How does it go? How many innings that
so it's 9 innings actually.
So how long does the game go on for?
About 3.5 hours, 3 to 3.5 hours.
Done. It's not as long as.
No, once you learn the rules, I mean, probably some of the guys who are watching might know the rules.
Yeah.
It's like American football. I didn't know American football. I just watched it. But the moment I knew the rules, it was a fabulous game.
Yeah.
Baseball is the same.
Yeah.
Like it's really fun. I mean, what happens is you have the coaches in the field. It's not the captain. The coaches run the, run the play. They tell you what to do, whom to sacrifice, where to hit, all that. They have all signals.
Wow.
So when you are a spectator who knows the game, you are also trying to think ahead of the situation. You are trying to think ahead of the event. So you're thinking, okay, this is what they should do, and then they do it, and then So it's fun. That's how you get so many people watching baseball.
So basically, I think it's similar to side batting first. There's another side.
And then 3 outs, and then the next team.
Yeah.
Only 3 people can
So do you get breaks in between, 3.5 hours, or you play continuously?
No, you play continuously. They can have 2 or 3 breaks if they want to.
Right.
If there's an injury or if there's a change of pitcher, so they give you few minutes to for pitcher to get ready and.
Okay. Otherwise, you play 3.5 hours, till the end.
3 to 3.5 hours. Yeah.
Right. Then also, but the weather plays a big role. But
absolutely, yeah. Weather is, because if it rains, you can't play because the
ball
gloves and it's like wicket keepers, gloves you're using.
So you don't play baseball in the rain.
In the rain, no.
No. Okay, that's it's
slight drizzle is fine, but not heavy.
Right. Sure. But how do you you don't need a special stadium to play, right? The bases and
You don't need to, but I mean, if you have a proper ground, it helps because you have the home runs and things like that.
But can you play in a cricket stadium?
You can play in a cricket stadium because you take a circle and then you make it in a four, and you know that you take a quarter. That's the shape of the baseball ground. So it's about 90 to 110 meters. The furthest point will be about 110 meters.
Okay, the fact that I asked many questions, I'm always, before we got on there, that I told you, to me as a human Priyantha, that life is all about just
experience,
learning things.
Yeah,
and that famous UB40 song, they say, the more I learn, less I know. There's even when I started, you asked me, how did you get onto this? That I was absolutely, since I left Sri Lanka cricket, and it's just aimlessly roaming around, thinking what to do. And then people asked me to. I used to write a little bit, not a blog as such, and just write some garbage on Facebook. And I had a following, and people like Boa, and they said, why don't you start your talk show? And so I have progressed. I have interviewed many people from all walks of life. To me, every time I talk to a person, I learn myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's for me to see your progression, the young bloke whom I saw way back in '85, and what you are today, and what you're talking, that's and as we said that we are not academically bright people, but all that learning that has come from sports, and all the parents are listening out there. All we can say is, please give your children to be happy. Absolutely. And to find that maybe they are calling. They are probably they are outstanding sportsmen, but that's not what the parents want.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The parents are looking at a job and how secure they are, and they're worried about it. Now, for me, when I gave up, I was forced to get into coaching, and I thought I'll give it a go. And then when first season I really struggled, but George,
as a rugby coach.
Yeah. So George was living in Hong Kong, and I told him to come over and help me. So he was here for 2 weeks, and then I realized I didn't know even 5% of what he knew. And then I went to New Zealand. More I learned, more I realized that I didn't know anything. That's why I always tell the coaches now that once I had to speak to the rugby coaches, and we had this seminar, and we had about 18 to 20 national players who wanted to become coaches. So my advice was, it will take 3 years for you to realize that you don't know anything, because what happens is you think coaching is completely different. Now, that's why I think in every sport we have this biggest problem, because you get a former player and make them a selector or make them a talent scout, because without the proper skill, you cannot be that person.
Sure.
If I'm made a talent scout, I wouldn't know anything, But coach, I might be able to do things better than the other guy, but that is not what you expect, right? You expect somebody who's appointed to that position to be able to, analyze and focus and give the best possible answer.
Yeah.
But we don't have that skill, and we don't train people.
Sure.
So our coaching is a different skill, selection is a different skill, and I think talent scouting is a different skill. So those are different skills.
Yeah.
Just because of you're a good player doesn't
make you a great coach.
Great coach, because anyway it's a disadvantage. I think most of the top players, skillful players, haven't become good coaches because I think they expect others to think like you.
Sure.
They don't know how to teach them how to do it. So first of all, any coach should be able to coach the basics to the juniors, whatever the sport, and then take it from there. Then you understand. Then you do the basics. When it comes to international level, and if you're advising an international player, then it might help you.
Right.
Because you have played at that level, you know what the situation is, you know how to condition yourself, how to motivate yourself, how to, what are the pluses and minuses and things like that. But until then, I mean, just being a national player is useless.
Exactly, like in everything else in life, there's progression, that because I think, it comes to leadership as well. I mean, you may be a great player. There's so many good captains even in cricket that were made the great players who were made captains and they have failed miserably because as you rightly said that you start thinking, you see things from your point of view, and which you cannot relate to your team members and your management, and you fail. And I think as a coach, the man management skills got to be perfect.
Absolutely.
It's one of the things that with
now you can learn all that. That is an advantage, Charith. Now during our period,
yes.
When I was appointed captain of the national team, I really don't know whether I deserve to be the captain, because there were about 12 or 13 guys who were senior to me from the police.
Yeah.
So I didn't know much about the captaincy, and only after I retired, I realized more about the captaincy than when I was playing. But then I thought to myself, the best thing I can do is, be the best player in the team and to train hard. So when we went on the first tour, I think I can remember I played recently well. I won the player of the day on most of the matches. And then most of the senior players spoke to me and they said, we respect you and we'll support you. And from there onwards, it's a matter of building. And when I played in New Zealand, I can remember the first time we sat, and before the match, 20 of us or 30 of us sat, and there were a couple of All Blacks, ex-All Blacks, they started talking. And then you might say something really stupid at the first time.
Yep.
And then you learn from them, you start analyzing, then you become a different person. You learn a lot.
Yep.
And so that's the important thing. I mean, you need the exposure, and then again, you need to learn and see how you can apply those skills.
When you look back in life, if somebody asked you, would you go back and change anything that you did, or you're rather content in what you have done or what you have achieved, and anything else you want to change?
Not, I mean, I would have liked to have played a bit more rugby in New Zealand, but then again, I was captain in the national team and I had just got married as well. So I had to come back. And I mean, no regrets. I mean, everything has been an experience, right? For me, someone who got out of the school and wanted to play for Kandy, that was my dream. And so, I mean, Kandy was getting beaten by 60, 70 points at that time.
Yeah.
And I set a low target for that, so for me to come back and captain the Sri Lanka for probably 10 years. So that I was a bit lucky also.
Yeah.
So that itself a great achievement. I must also say that, like, when I was playing for CH, and I think 3 of us got selected to play in the national team. I think Rohan Abe, and I can't remember, there was another player.
Right.
And we came for practice. I was really thrilled and all that. And then everybody was congratulating and telling me how, because I was really motivated. I was playing for the Asian. I had no exposure. I was thinking I'll kill myself, I'll play. And then one of the, top national players called me to a side and said, "Don't be an idiot, you can't beat Korea, Japan, Taiwan, you get hammered.
Yeah.
So don't break your neck.
Yeah.
You just go and just play and come back."
Yeah.
So that actually really took me back.
Right.
I was like really upset because I was really motivated.
Yeah.
Then one of the players again told me, "Don't worry, you can, you can do well at that level." I'm not saying this because not through ego, but then 95 I was able to captain the Asian Barbarians.
Yeah.
But most of those guys played under me. But if I took their advice, I would have been able to achieve anything.
Exactly.
So any young sportsman, you've got to believe in yourself. But whatever happens, you need to have skill to compete at the highest level.
Right.
So you have the mental skills and you have the physical skills, and that's why it's important. High performance is so important because it looks after all aspects of your training, not just the skills.
Yeah.
And also the physical skills. I think the mental skills in Sri Lanka, it's easy.
Right.
Because as a kid, when you have a problem with another kid in your same team or your best friend's parents, how they treat you and you get upset, you deal with those situations and you build them, your mental strength.
Yeah.
You don't need a lecturer or somebody to come and tell you about mental strength. Sri Lanka is easy.
Yeah.
I think then physical and skills, that's the area that I think.
I was, reading an article recently, that about a certain boxer, I forget the name now, that say how he became a world-class boxer, and just everyone said that he's gifted, he's talented, and the guy who's writing, he says it's not the gift, he had the talent, but the number of hours he, the hard yards he put in order to become a good player. I think in life, yes, you got skill, you got talent, everything. But if you don't put those hard yards in, I think nothing happens. That's you got to keep doing it in what you do.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter whether you're a sportsman or even you are cleaning the roadside. That I've seen the lady who cleans outside my house, and the way she sweeps the road, it's just it's beautiful. She's in motion in what she does. And she had been for the last 4 or 5 years, and I think she has. The moment she cleans the road, it looks nicely, all the leaves were stacked in the side for them to carry. So she has become an expert in what she does. Like what I'm saying is that so many years that so that's life's progression.
Practice makes you perfect. I think there's a book written by I don't know the name. It's called Sports Gene.
Yes.
And they talk about this 5,000 hours of training. And then
exactly.
people who have done now they say if you are good at something, you can do 3,000 hours and still be good at it, or average or whatever.
Yes.
But if you reach that 5,000 hours, even average person becomes good.
Yeah.
And then most of the top athletes,
they put 10,000 hours.
Exactly. They put 10,000 hours.
Then you become world class.
World class. Yeah. So that's where the difference is.
Yeah.
So it's more hours that you put in, more results you get.
It's absolutely, mate. I think Priyantha, we've been talking almost. We started. The time didn't feel the time moving. Yeah, it's more than 1 hour 10 minutes, and it's brilliant having you. And I don't know whether I'm sure that lots of people have asked questions, and I'll go back and as I said earlier that I will respond. And great having you, mate.
Yeah, great.
And it's
Thank
always
you for having me. I appreciate it, and good to see you.
It's it's my pleasure. You being my guest and on my show. And when you ask me what are you going to achieve out of this, I don't know. And I'm really enjoying doing what I'm doing. And as I said, I learn every time I sit with somebody, I learn a lot. And I've been very fortunate to have some great people on my show.
Yeah, I think last thing I want to say is there are lots of good people, there are lots of passionate people, there are lots of people who want to do things. When you go overseas, you realize that though they are in those countries, their hearts are in Sri Lanka, they want to help. I can see now the WhatsApp forums and all that.
Yes.
Most people who contribute the most is the ones who are overseas, because they see things better. Because we are like the frogs in the well. Absolutely. We think we are really good. Our coaches, if you look at most of the coaches, if you just take rugby, I don't think they know that they don't know. So that's the difference. That's a problem. Yeah. So there are lots of people. I think if we have a proper system, there will be a lot of people who will come from overseas who can come and help us, and who will want to help us.
You're right, because when you overseas, you see the things in a different perspective.
Absolutely.
And here our problem is most of the people out there, their glass is always full.
Yeah.
And it should be the other way around. You should always say glass is empty, and good things happen to you. That's what I'm doing. I don't know what the hell am I doing, but I'm learning every minute. And every time I go in front of the camera and talk, that I feel that I get better, and that's the way it should be in life. It's progression, as I said. And let's take it to the next level. Before you wind up, mate, need to thank few people. You see at the back, your good friend, your college mate, Dash Gunawardana. He's been an absolutely brilliant supporter of me. To tell you, Pri, when I started the show, I had many difficulties, and so apart from the technical know-how, in order to get the hardware and the whole thing around, it wasn't easy. But there were a whole lot of people who came forward and helped me along. And big thank you to all those people. Now, I wonder whether you remember this guy, Amit Passala. He played a bit of. Amit is a hockey player.
Yeah, I see it. Yes.
Out of nowhere, Amit just came and said, "Mate, I love what you're doing. What do you want?" And the camera that you and I are watching, it's in a courtesy him. And there's another friend of mine in Australia, he just got me the rest of the lights and the rest of the stuff. And then Dash came on board, and he helped me along. And finally, the latest addition is Mobiter. That's I was struggling to have data because it takes a lot. And I was just talking to the CEO, Nalin Pereira, at the club, just over a casual beer. Nalin just said, "I sort you out, mate. Not an issue." True to his word, next morning 2 blokes turn up, and they fix me up. Things happened. My intentions were very clear. And as I said, I was really, really fortunate to have all my mates, coming on board and help me along. And I continue to, I hope that people will listen to it. Jeremy David, if you're listening, one guy who wants to help me, and Jeremy, and then Rianzi, our old CR mate, with Roots. It goes with Drink with Charith. They like to have the Roots.
Sure.
The Rianzi is another potential customer in the future, and few others. And so I need your help to carry on. I need help like this guy, you know, to talk of every time he opens his mouth, you know, he says something really inspiring. And so before you wind up, people, once again, big thank you to Priyantha for being here. And I hope, you know, that you listen to what he said and all his wisdom and his wisdom. Once again, that, you know, I will keep you informed who's coming on my show next week once I have a confirmation. It's a pleasure being here and this afternoon. And Priyantha, I wish you nothing but the very best, mate.
Thanks, man. Cheers.
And one day I would like you to, when you are free, I like to come, when you have a foreign coach, to sit and have a chat, to share knowledge, and so I can learn, and it will be brilliant to
Yeah, sure.
you know, to pick their brains and see, you know, like what I can learn to know more about the game, because I'm truly fascinated, you know, that, you know, there's all those legendary movies that I have seen on TV about, you know, so many players, and you know that I still don't understand how the game works, but I don't think you have to be a rocket scientist, you know. It's very simple, and someday before I get too old,
Give it a try.
give it a couple of swings. You're left-handed as well, aren't you? You're right-handed. Okay, just hit the ball and see, you know, just feel
Yeah,
the,
you'll be good at it, and you're a good cricketer. So like me.
just to feel the ball on the bat, you know, on a baseball bat, and see how far I can hit it, you know, just and get the swing going, you know, just see whether I can still hit a home run, and just, you know. Great, mate. Great having you, people.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you for listening to us and being on the show all this while. And until we see you once more, a drink with Charith. Thank you very much. Good luck in whatever you do. It's a December season. Be careful when you are driving out there. I must say that the police are all over the place. So behave yourselves, you know, drink cautiously, carefully, and take care of yourself. See you soon. Bye-bye.